Class, this is problem 11. We're going to do 1 through 5. I'll show you how to do them. Okay, so 11.1. Project K cost $52,000, $52,125. Its expected net cash inflows are $12,000 per year for 8 years, and its weighted average cost of capital is 12%. What is the project's NPV, or net present value? So here's Project K. It cost $52,125, and now here we have our cash flows for the next 8 years. All right. So to find the NPV, all we have to do is do the NPV function on our spreadsheet. Here it is right here. Let me drag it over. Okay, so in the rate, we'll put our weighted average cost of capital, and then in the value, it'll be each one of these cash flows, $12,000 cash flows. Okay, and then to end the function, we have to, after we do that, then we have to be sure and always add back in your cash flow at time period 0. For the Excel spreadsheet, you can't use a time period 0 with these function arguments. You have to add it in separate. So it actually discounts each one of these back and then adds it into our original cash flow. So we find our net present value is $7,486.68. That's the value of all of these cash flows today, discounted at 12%. Now, problem 2 says, what is the project's IRR? IRR is the internal rate of return. So all we have to do to find the IRR is use your IRR function. Okay, use your IRR function, and you just put in all the values from D2, now this one you put in all the values from D2 all the way to D10. Okay, or yeah, D10. So we put them all in, and it gives us our internal rate of return. You just put all these values in. Sometimes you might have to put a guess in, but normally you don't. Now we'll look, and so we'll say our internal rate of return. What is the modified internal rate of return? For this, we just use the modified internal rate of return function. Okay, modified internal rate of return. Internal rate of return means we put the present value back to 0. That's what would be back to 0. Modified internal rate of return assumes that all our cash flows are reinvested at our weighted average cost of capital. So we put our values in, would be the same, all these values, and our finance rate would be 13%, and our reinvestment rate would be 12%. This C13 is 12%. And that will find our modified internal rate of return. Okay, for the payback. All we have to do on this one for the payback is, since they're all the same, all we have to do is say 12,000 divided by 52.125, and we want to make that positive, so I'll put a negative in front of it, and it just gives us our payback is 4.34. Now our discounted payback, the way we need to find our discounted payback is our cumulative will be the same across the top, our cost. Okay, we have to discount this cash, this $12,000. So to discount it, all we have to do is say, in this case, it's D3, this 12,000 divided by 1 plus our weighted average cost of capital, and then all to, and I have C3, this power here, all to the first power. So we find that when we discount 12,000 at 12%, we get 1,000 or 10,714. Now you'll notice that when we discount this 12,000 is D4 divided by 1 plus the weighted average cost of capital all to the second power. And when we get down to D8 or cash flow 8, you'll see this 12,000 is discounted at 1 plus the weighted average cost of capital all to the 8th power. So that's how we found our discounted cash flows. Now for our cumulative, what we have to do is just add these two together. So basically, see, it cost us $52,125. This is how much we get to put against our cost this first year. So we just take it out. So it's $41,411, and so on and so on. Now we can look at this and we can see that the project pays off somewhere between years 6 and 7, because it's when we go into the positive. So to find our discounted payback, we just say year 6, which is C8, plus, and we need to make this a positive value, 2788. So I'll put a negative in front of it to make it positive, divided by 5,428.19 to get our discounted payback at 651. So now let's look at these and let's say, okay, what do they tell us? This tells us, our NPV tells us that that it's positive. So the project, if it was independent, would be accepted. Okay, this internal rate of return tells us that our money's costing us 12%, but we're making 16% on it. Okay, so our internal rate return beats the hurdle rate. So that tells us we would accept the project. Our modified internal rate of return is a little better measure than internal rate of return because it assumes reinvestment at weighted average cost of capital. It's still over the hurdle rate, so it tells us our project could be accepted. This payback tells us how long it'll take us to pay back the project, pay back the $52,125. And the discounted payback tells us how much if we were using our opportunity cost of capital, therefore discounting each one back. So discounted payback is a little bit better measure than payback. That's problem 11, 1 through 5.